Hi everyone, my name is Joe Malone. I'm the CEO and founder of Southern Cross. We're a group of special operations veterans who teach everyday people how to stay safe against violent crime. So today I want to talk to you about the importance of having in-person training within the workplace. A lot of people these days think that we've moved into the Zoom age where we don't have to do in-person training anymore, but I'm going to tell you a really important reason why that is a fallacy and how having high quality engaging training in the workplace can absolutely 100% scientifically proven mitigate the likelihood for workplace violence in your organization or in your school. Aside from all of the obvious benefits to having high quality, engaging in-person training, the fact that it shows you care about your staff when you pay for good, high quality training, aside from the fact that it brings people together, aside from the fact that it develops a good, positive work culture and unity and cohesive workforce, there's actually now scientific evidence showing that having high quality, engaging, positive social interactions in specifically with workplace training can biochemically and neurologically debilitate our brain's ability to solidify neural connections in the brain that cause trauma. What that basically is saying in a much simpler way is that when you have positive, high engaging social interaction and training for the development of a skill, it not only brings people together in a number of ways, but it also empowers us as human beings with new knowledge, new confidence, and it bleeds over into all other areas and aspects of our life. So for the neuroscience piece, recently scientists have discovered, and there's a bunch of different discoveries regarding isolation with scientists down in Antarctica. We can have another conversation about those studies if you would like. Just let me know. Recent studies have shown that a peptide within the brain called tachykinin is responsible for taking past fearful experiences and solidifying the neural connection or strengthening that neural connection in the brain to create long-term chronic trauma. So therefore, pathways in the brain get solidified from tachykinin working to turn fearful experiences into trauma. Whether you know that it's present or not, whether you are thinking about the experience in itself or not thinking about the experience in itself, if tachykinin is present within your body and your brain in elevated amounts, then it is solidifying your previous fearful experiences with long-term chronic trauma, because that's the conversion of trauma, or the conversion of fear into trauma is the strength of the neural pathway in the brain and how we relate to and associate with it. So how is fear developed? Well, fear comes out of the I have anxiety thought process, and then it also comes out biochemically within stress on the body, the release of cortisol, epinephrine, and ultimately, the response of that primitive, survival reflex, fight, flight, freeze, or even fawn, a lot of people are saying these days. So whenever a fearful experience takes place, we can overcome it greatly. And if you think about people who've suffered great trauma in their lives, Oprah Winfrey, I think, is an incredible example, how she now views world in such a different lens as opposed to anybody else who was raped and abused as a child. She now has taken that trauma, rewired and restructured her brain through various means, now views the world in a different light. Same thing takes place in our brains when we have positive social engagement and interaction, is that it biochemically releases chemicals within the system that happen to neutralize or destroy the tachykinin within our system. So it actually reverses the work being done on all those previous fearful experiences in the brain just by having the chemical release related and associated to positive social interaction, and it's positive social interaction specifically. So when we bring our workforce together for a fun, engaging time, whether we're learning how to de-escalate crime in the workplace or prevent violence in the workplace, whatever it really is, not only are we bringing people together, humanizing, building bonds with one another again, catching up on things in the cooler water talk, which I personally think is the greatest preventative means of workplace violence, but we are actually neurologically and biochemically inducing our bodies to not register trauma, to have more positive experiences. And if we are doing training relative to workplace violence, and if somebody has suffered from violent trauma in the past, or maybe a violent experience that was fearful, I should say, that was eventually hardened into something like trauma, then they can actually begin to reassociate their new skills and their newfound belief in themselves with that previous event, and they can now begin to dismantle the tachykinin trauma strengthened neural pathway and then reassociate that neural pathway with much more positive experience. And then the more emotional that experience is, i.e. the more fun it is, or the more of a connection they feel to the instructor or their coworkers who they happen to be catching up and doing this work with, then the greater the neural connection is in a positive context. So not only will you have elevated moods within the workforce, but you'll have people working in a more cohesive manner with more empathy, therefore mitigating the likelihood for workplace violence. The other thing about tachykinin is that it actually increases or becomes consistently present long-term chronic conditions when we are isolated from human beings. It also breeds agitation and erratic behavior. So when we think about workplace violence incidents and active shooters, they're isolated people who are having these previous fearful experiences being solidified by the consistent presence of tachykinin within their body, within their brain. Even if they're not even sitting there reliving those experiences, it's getting solidified in a trauma because they have no positive social interaction. That ultimately leads to acts of insane aggression, insanity, horrible acts of violence that we see. So the number one way that we could begin to prevent those types of incidents from occurring is by having in-person, engaging, positive, high-quality social interaction and training that is truly just empowering us to learn how to survive through these horrible events and how to really just come together and remember to be human with one another again. This isn't just some sort of theoretical, hey, I think we should all hold hands type of stuff here. This is real science backed in both neuroscience and biology. So if you want your workforce to feel engaged and cared for and actually learn something that could save their life or the life of somebody else someday, or your life even. And if you want to dismantle the negative effects of people being isolated, and then host some in-person training, we'd be more than happy to come out and talk to you. We approach from all different angles: emotional, psychological, behavioral. Joe Malone, Southern Cross. Thank you very much, everyone. I hope this was helpful for you. If you want more information on the science behind fear and how you overcome fear and become more aware and keep yourself more safe from crime, reach out, let us know, southerncross.company or training@southerncross.company. And we'd be more than happy to help out and talk to you about anything. All right, take care, stay safe, be kind.